Hi, I'm Chris from Sally Forth, and today we're going to be taking a look at the campaigns of Oz. So this is a board game based on the Wars of Oz. So let's start off by having a look at what you get inside the box. Firstly, you get a nice full color map, which is a sort of game board where all of the action sort of takes place. So this is in 4 sections and it covers the whole of the world of Oz. So we can, if we have a look at this game board, you can see that it has all of the locations that you would expect, the major cities, sort of the Munchkin City, the Emerald City, the Industrial City, the mountains, the Yellow Brick Road, the sort of the areas where the wicked witches raise their armies. So, as well as the sort of game board, we get a quick reference sheet, which is always handy for sort of when you're playing the game. We have a combat resolution board, and this is where, for if you're playing the board game without any reference to the miniatures game, then this is where the battles take place with the counters. So going back into the box, we have nice full color artwork counters. So the colors obviously tie back to the colors of the 4 main nations in Oz. So we have blue for the Munchkin, so we have all of their infantry, all of their cavalry, all of their characters. On the second sheet, we have the Munchkin artillery. Going on to purple, which is the colour of the Gillikin. So here we have Gillikin characters and their artillery, Gillikin infantry and cavalry. So basically, every unit that's in the Wars of Oz miniatures game is also in the board game. So here we have the red is a quadling army, and if we take a look, if we have a look at one of the counters, and then we have a look at some of the miniatures for the miniatures game, then it's an exact match, and the reason is that the counters in the board game are actually based on the photography of the miniatures that went into the rule book. So we have a good degree of consistency between the two. So in Oz, there's obviously wizards, there's witches, and they can use magic as you would expect. So we have counters for all of the different sort of spell effects. Then yellow, so the yellow counters are the Winkies. So we have all of their characters, Evora, the Wicked Witch, the various Winky generals, and all of the units that they can deploy. And then we have a sort of a brownie sort of coloured board. So this contains all of the mercenary units that can be included in any side. So we have the pumpkin men, we have the giants, we have trolls, apes, all of the dire creatures. So everything that appears in the Oz miniatures game is in the board game too. Moving on to the rule book. So this covers everything that you need to know, a bit of a sort of background about the game. the map works, how movement works. So it's rather than the measuring or hexes, it's a point-to-point movement between different towns and sort of geographical points. So like we've got a muddy ford, we've got a crossroad, and then we have sort of various towns. So an army units are either in a town or city, or they're moving on a road or a river, or some other means of transportation, point to point. So we then have a look at that we have how sort of how combat works, which is kind of fairly straightforward. It uses the combat values on the sort of on the counters. There's a more detailed board game combat resolution system that uses a battle board, and then sort of whether your troops are on the flank or a center or the other flank, that sort of affects the game, and you give orders to sort of various parts of your army, and the battle could be resolved there. And then sort of finally, we have the important thing for a campaign game. You have how you recruit different types of troops. So it's what's important, which territory you command, because different types of troops can be recruited from different areas, and they include all of the varied units that are in the Wars of Ozz game. So we have apes, giants, trolls, dark creatures, tin men, all of the things that you would expect. They're sort of inspired by L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz books. Once we've got past the rule section, now this is a bit that's sort of really exciting, is that we have all of the different campaigns which have been mentioned in the Wars of Oz rule book. They're described as a board game campaign. So it tells you what troops, where to set them up, what the victory conditions are, what's the political sort of situation, and then all of these campaigns. So meeting the Wizard of Oz, sister against sister, Gillikens versus Winkies mini campaign. We have the first campaign where the evil witches venture into the harvest land and meet the pumpkin folk. Now, all of these stories based on Oz are included as sort of campaign events. But what makes it really exciting is that, as well as being playable as a board game, it can be played as a campaign using our miniatures, our armies. So, how that would work is that you would have armies, sort of armies of miniatures that are represented by counters on the map. So if we have a look, let's have some quadlings. So basically, each of these counters represents a unit, and they would move from location to location on the campaign map. And each of these counters sort of is going to represent a complete unit in the Wars of Oz tabletop game. So when the two sets of counters come together, we would then get the miniatures out for the units that are represented by the stacks of counters. We'd go to our terrain and our games table. We'd set our units of Ozz miniatures up. We'd play the battle, and then see what the results are. And if we've lost that unit, then we lose that unit in the board game too, and we continue and we play the whole campaign. So there we have it, an integrated solution. Board game, play it completely as a board game. Don't need to use any miniatures at all. But if you're into miniature gaming as well, then you have the best of both worlds. That you have a campaign system that you can use to have recruitment, to have grand strategic movement, and then your detailed tabletop battles. So I hope that you've found this interesting, that the Campaigns of Ozz board game is going to be part of the Wave 2 Wars of Ozz Kickstarter, which is going to be going live towards the end of April. So if this is interesting to you, then please join us at the Wars of Ozz Facebook group. We have a Wars of Ozz website that has all the details of the figures and the background and everything like that. It's an exciting, it's a different sort of fantasy game. It's refreshing, it's innovative, it's a load of fun. So please join us on the adventure.